The auction where no one dared to look, Captain Ryan stepped off his ship, the Iron Warden, and into the thick, humid air of Drogma's Ringa Black Market space station floating on the edge of the Ander galaxy. The lights flickered above his head, and the smell of oil, blood, and rotting food filled the narrow metal halls. He had come for spare engine coils. That's it. Nothing more. Don't talk, don't touch, don't look too long. His A had warned him, but Ryan had been a soldier once. He knew how to walk into danger without blinking. Still, something about this place. It felt dirty. Wrong, like the walls themselves had watched too many bad things. He followed the noise of the crowd down to the underground levels. The closer he got, the louder the voices became, shouting, laughing, and sometimes growling. Then he saw the large metal doors marked live auction nitrogen monoxide rules. Insidia guard scanned his ID. First time here. The man asked with a toothless grin. Ryan didn't answer. He just walked in. The room was dark and round, like an arena. Bright red lights pointed toward a platform in the center. Chains hung from the ceiling. Creatures stood in cages around the edge, some screaming, some crying, some silent. A tall alien with silver skin stood on stage. "We begin with Lot 7, he shouted. A rare female from Sector 91, half-grown, untouched, trained for obedience. Ryan turned his head. That's when he saw her. She was small, maybe 16 or 17 by human standards. Thin, pale purple skin. Silver white hair hung in dirty strands over her face. Her wrists were locked in iron cuffs, her ankles too. A long collar around her neck had the word pleasure burned into it. The crowd cheered. One alien laughed and yelled, "Make her beg." The girl flinched but didn't move. Ryan's stomach twisted. He had seen prisoners before during war. During raids, but this was different. This was evil. Starting bid, 40 credits. The auctioneer called. Another alien shouted, 50. 60. Ryan took a step forward without meaning to. Then, suddenly, her head lifted. Their eyes met. Her eyes were not empty. They were glowing softly, golden, intelligent, a spark. Like a fire hidden under ashdot. And then she spoke, softly, barely. A whisper. "Please, take me home." Ryan froze. No one else heard her. No one else looked at her like a person. But he saw it now. She wasn't some trained pet. She wasn't a creature. She was someone. Another alien shouted, 75, 80. Ryan's fists clenched. "Walk away," his brain warned. "This isn't your problem." But her eyes didn't move. They stayed locked on him, quiet, brave. Waiting, he raised his voice. 100 credits. The crowd went silent. All eyes turned to him. Some laughed. Some hissed. Humans gone soft. Someone shouted, "She's broken, fool." The auctioneer smiled with sharp teeth. 100 credits from the brave captain. Any more? No one spoke. Sold. The collar snapped open. The chains dropped. She didn't move. Ryan stepped forward and slowly, carefully removed his jacket. He wrapped it around her shaking shoulders. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded, but barely. He lifted her into his arms, light as air. Cold as ice. As he turned to leave, a tall, red-skinned alien stepped in his way. "You bought a mistake," he growled. "She bites. She kills. Just like the others." Ryan stared him down. "Good," he said. "So do I." The alien moved aside. Ryan walked out, heart pounding, mind racing. Who was this girl? What had they done to her? And why? When she looked at him, did he feel like he had just stepped into a war he didn't understand? Back aboard the Iron Warden, The girl sat quietly in the medical bay. She hadn't spoken again. She just watched. Everything, silently, like a bird waiting for a trap to close. Ryan sat across from her. He didn't even know her name. But somehow, her whisper echoed in his mind like thunder. Please, take me home. He didn't know where home was, for her. But he knew one thing. She was never going back in chains, not while he was alive. I didn't come to be a hero. The girl didn't speak again. Not during the flight back to Ryan's small starship. Not when he gave her food. Not when he offered a warm bed. She just sat on the cold metal floor near the engine room, hugging his old flight jacket like a shield. Ryan watched her from the control deck. He wasn't sure what to say or do. This wasn't a rescue mission. He wasn't some kind of hero. He was a mechanic, a transport pilot, just trying to survive in deep space. So why did he feel like a war had started the moment she looked at him? The ship's AI chimed softly. Subject's heart rate, unstable, possible trauma. Yeah. Ryan muttered, no kidding. He brought her a bowl of soup. Thick, warm, simple. He placed it on the floor near her, careful not to get too close. I'm Ryan, he said gently. Captain of this rust bucket. She didn't respond. You? Got a name? Silence. The engines hummed in the background. The ship moved through stars like a ghost. Quiet, drifting, lost. Then very softly, her lips moved to nary. Ryan looked up. She didn't look at him, but she had spoken. That one word carried weight. Pain, memory. Nice to meet you, Neri, Ryan said. You're safe here. She nodded once. He waited for more. But nothing came. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. Not as she was now, but as she was in the cage. Chained, silent. Watching what kind of people did that to someone. He didn't want to care. He had rules. Don't get involved. Don't play the savior. But those rules were already broken. The next day, he left her in the med bay and checked the auction paperwork. There was no record of her species. No name, no planet, no history. Just a label. Lot 7 trained pleasure hybrid. Low risk, low risk. She had flinched when he opened a cupboard. She had trembled when a spoon clattered on the floor. She hadn't touched the soup. Ryan sighed and walked back to the engine room. The moment she heard the door, Neri jumped. Her eyes went wide, and her hands lifted like she expected to be hit. He froze. I'm not going to hurt you, he said slowly. She didn't lower her hands right away. He crouched beside her, not too close, and placed a blanket on the floor. I know you don't trust me. That's okay, but you're not a slave here. You don't have to obey me. Her eyes narrowed, confused. I was taught to obey. Not anymore. Her voice shook. If I don't please, I get punished. No one punishes you here, Ryan said, more firm now. You're free, she blinked. Free. It was like she didn't understand the word. That broke something in him. Later, while he was repairing a loose wire in the ship's power core, he heard something behind him. She was standing there, quietly, holding a cup of water. For you, she whispered. He took it gently. Thanks. She hesitated. Do I please you now? Ryan stared at her. Neri. He said carefully, you don't have to please anyone. You're not a toy. She lowered her eyes. But that's what I was made for. No, he said. That's what they told you. That's not what you are. She looked up at him, confused, afraid, but something else. Something like hope. That night, she sat at the dining table across from him, still silent but not shaking anymore. She reached for a spoon and tried to eat. Her hand trembled. She dropped it. She panicked. Ryan gently picked it up and gave it back to her without a word. This time, she held it steady as the ship drifted toward the next system. Ryan leaned against the window and stared out at the stars. I didn't come to be a hero. He muttered to himself, but he couldn't forget. The moment she looked at him and said, "Take me home." And now, he was starting to wonder maybe home wasn't a place. Maybe it was him, a hidden code beneath her skin. Was fixing a power relay when he heard the quiet sound of whimpering. He followed the sound to the small sleeping chamber, where Rai sat on the floor, shaking. She was hugging her knees, breathing fast. Sweat covered her face, and her hands were pressed tightly against her chest. He rushed in. "Rai, what's wrong?" She didn't answer. Then her skin began to glow, not softly. Not with warmth, lines like thin. Bright wires lit up under her skin in sharp blue patterns, running from her collarbone down her arms and into her hands. Her eyes rolled back. She looked like she was short-circuiting Rai. Ryan shouted. Grabbing the med-dash scanner, the ship's AI activated. Warning: unknown biotechnological surge detected in passenger. Ryan scanned her quickly. The display blinked red. Foreign tech detected bio-encrypted weapon interface. Warning: subject contains dormant combat system. His hands went cold. She wasn't just someone's victim, or something else. Something. Built, modified, maybe even engineered. But how and why? Ryan carefully placed a hand on her shoulder. Rai, listen to my voice. You're safe. You're not there anymore. Her eyes snapped open, glowing bright gold dot then, just as suddenly. The lights under her skin faded. She collapsed forward into his arms unconscious. Hours later, she woke up in the med-dash bay. She looked around, confused, frightened. Where am I? Ryan sat beside her. You're on my ship. She passed out. Something inside you activated. Went silent. Rai, he said softly. What's inside you? She closed her eyes. I don't know, she whispered. I scanned you. There's advanced tech under your skin. It's wired into your nerves. Her lip trembled. I didn't ask for it. I know, he said. But someone put it there. She nodded slowly. Then she whispered something that made his stomach twist. They told me I would become a goddess after they broke me. Later, Ryan ran a deeper scan with the help of his AI. He projected the data on the screen. Dozens of tiny micro-roots ran through her muscles, her spine, even her brain. They looked like circuit maps. At the center of it all, a locked core near her heart, glowing faint blue. The AI spoke. Code shows military-grade encryption. Not native to known species. Likely custom-built for long-term weapon use. Weapon, she wasn't just hurt. She was a living weapon in sleep mode. Ryan felt sick. She had been chained like a pet because someone was afraid of what she might become, or worse, waiting for the right moment to activate her. Later that night, she stood by the observation window, watching the stars. Ryan joined her. Did you know? He asked. She shook her head. I always felt wrong. Like there was something inside me trying to wake up. He studied her face, gentle, innocent, but tired. I'm not like you, she said. I'm not real. You bleed, he said. You cry, you feel pain. That's real enough for me. She looked at him, eyes wide. No one ever said that. To me, she whispered. He leaned against the wall beside her. Do you remember anything? Where this tech came from? I remember white rooms, machines, cold voices. They said I was their prototype 6. Ryan's fists clenched. They said I would obey when the signal came. She added quietly, signal. Yes. They didn't want a soldier. They wanted a remote-controlled doll. They said I would be unstoppable. But only if I forgot who I was. Ryan took a deep breath. You didn't forget. That means they failed. She stared at him, then, very slowly. She smiled, not because she felt happy, but because, for the first time, she felt human. That night, Ryan locked the ship's external communication systems. Whoever created her might still be searching. He looked at the glowing blueprint of her body, still up on the screen. Prototype 6. Living weapon. Controlled remotely. But when she had spoken to him at that auction, it wasn't programming. It wasn't a command. It was a cry for freedom. And somehow, that one act of free will might have broken the chains inside her mind. Ryan wasn't a hero. He wasn't a rebel. He didn't have an army or a plan. But looking at her, asleep now in his spare bunk, he whispered to himself, "I'll protect you, Narai, even from yourself." The prison she escaped was a lab. The stars outside the ship glowed, like distant lanterns. But inside the Iron Warden, shadows clung to Nara's face. She sat alone in the cargo bay, knees pulled to her chest, her silver white hair hiding her eyes. Ryan watched her from the doorway. She hadn't spoken since the last scan, not since they saw the weapon system buried inside her flesh. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She didn't move, but she didn't say no. He sat beside her, careful not to crowd her. Silence stretched between them, thick like fog. Finally, she broke it. "I wasn't born," she said. Ryan looked over, surprised. "I woke up in a tank, floating wires in my back. My fingers were too small to move, and someone was watching me through glass." She swallowed hard. "I thought it was a dream. But every time I opened my eyes, I was still inside." "Still drowning?" Ryan said nothing. He let her speak. "They gave me food when I obeyed. They shocked me when I asked questions. They tested how long I could go without sleep, how long I could scream." Her voice was quiet but steady now. "There were others, 5 before me. I saw their names on the walls. Prototype 1, Prototype 2. They never spoke. I think they failed." Ryan's jaw tightened. "What did they want from you?" She looked up. "They wanted to make the perfect weapon, a living tool. Soft outside, deadly inside. One that could be passed off as a pet, a slave, even a gift. Until it was time to strike." She paused. Her hands trembled. "They called me the Velvet Bullet." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Narai stood and walked to a small mirror near the emergency locker. She stared at her reflection like it didn't belong to her. "They told me I wasn't a person, just skin wrapped around code." Ryan stepped behind her. "They lied," he said. She touched her collarbone. "There's a scar here. They opened me up when I was asleep. They placed something inside." Ryan already knew. The scans showed it, a deep core encryption node near her heart. "They used to say I would only awaken when the right signal came," she whispered. "But I heard something else, a voice inside. It said, 'Run.'" Ryan crossed his arms. "So you did." She nodded. "I killed 2 guards. I didn't even know how I just moved. Then I ran through burning halls, red lights, alarms. I climbed into a trash shuttle before the whole sector locked down." Her voice shook now. "I hid inside garbage for 2 days. The shuttle landed on Drogma's ring, where someone found me, saw my body, and thought I was made for pleasure." She looked away. "They sold me in chains, again." Ryan stepped closer, gentle but firm. "You weren't born in a home. You didn't get a name from a mother, but you're still you. And that's enough." She turned to him, eyes shining with tears. "You think I'm still worth saving?" He smiled. "I think you already saved yourself. I'm just catching up." That night, as Narai slept, Ryan went to the command deck. He searched all known black site labs near the Ander sector. Most had been shut down or hidden after the Galactic Peace Accords, but one file came up classified, red-flagged, and half-corrupted. Project SERA-PH6, Biodaptive Warfare Initiative location. Unknown notes, terminated following internal breach. Status of test subjects, presumed destroyed. Destroyed. Ryan looked at Naraya's medical. Scans again. She was supposed to be dead. He saved a copy and locked the data. If anyone found out she was alive, they'd come. And this time, they wouldn't try to buy her. They'd try to erase her. Morning came. Quietly, Nirai made tea. Simple. But it meant something. Ryan accepted the cup with a nod. "You don't have to stay," she said suddenly. He blinked. "What? You didn't ask for this. I'm dangerous. Attract enemies. A tweak. I was made to be used." Ryan set the cup down. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" She stayed silent. "I see someone who had every reason to become a monster, but chose to run instead." He stepped closer. "I don't care where you came from. You're not a weapon to me. You're not property. You're not broken." She bit her lip. "Then, what am I?" Ryan smiled gently. "You're free, and whatever you want to be next, I'll help you get there." And for the first time since she spoke to him at the auction, Narai didn't look scared. She looked hopeful. I taught her to be a person again the first time Narai touched sunlight. She squinted like it hurt. Ryan had landed the Iron Warden on a quiet moon, no cities, no scanners, just trees and silence. It was a hidden supply stop, long abandoned, and perfect for staying off-grid. When the cargo door opened, warm golden light spilled in. Narai didn't move at first. She stood at the edge of the ramp, afraid to step forward. "It won't burn you," Ryan said gently. "Promise." She looked at the sky like it was a lie. Then, slowly, she stepped outside. Her bare feet touched real grass. Her skin shimmered under the sun. She breathed in deeply. The air smelled like pine and wet stone. Then she did something Ryan didn't expect. She smiled. They stayed there for 2 days. Ryan showed her how to boil tea leaves over a fire, how to wash clothes in a stream, how to hum 2 birds, and how to skip rocks on water. She watched everything carefully. "I've never done any of this," she said once, watching a leaf float downstream. "It's not hard," Ryan replied. "Just takes practice." She shook her head. "No, I mean, I've never been allowed to do this. They trained me for other things." Ryan didn't ask for details. He didn't need to. Instead, he built a small wooden bench out of broken crates. It was crooked, but it stood. When she sat on it and swung her legs, giggling just a little, he felt like he'd built a throne. That night, they watched the stars. Narai curled up beside the campfire, holding a blanket tight. Her eyes were wide. With thought, "Why do humans build chairs and name stars and tell stories?" she asked. Ryan chuckled. "Because we like feeling something." "I don't know what I feel," she admitted. "Sometimes it's cold inside. Sometimes it hurts. When I laugh, that's healing," he said. "It's messy, but it means you're alive." She turned to him. "Do you think I'm allowed to be happy?" He looked her in the eyes. "I think you deserve it more than anyone." She blinked fast, as if fighting tears. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched his hand. Not with fear, with trust. The next morning, Ryan taught her how to cook. She burned the first pancake and stared at it like it had betrayed her. Ryan laughed so hard he nearly dropped the pan. "You were supposed to help me," she said, glaring at the blackened edge. I'm helping," he said between laughs. "This is called the learning curve. It's a dangerous beast." She tried again. The second pancake was slightly better. The third one, edible. When she finally tasted her own food and smiled, Ryan held up a hand. "Congratulations," he said. "You just did something no lab ever programmed into you." She tilted her head. "What?" "You created something." She looked down at the warm pancake on her plate. For a long time, she didn't say anything. Then she whispered, "I like it better than killing." Ryan's smile faded, but only because her words reminded him how far she'd come and how far. She still had to go later. Inside the ship, Ryan handed her an old book, a physical one. Paper. Faded ink. "What's this?" she asked. "It's called The Little Prince. I think you'll like it." She opened the first page slowly, afraid it might break. She sat beside him and started reading aloud. At first, her voice was mechanical, unsure. But by the second chapter, her tone changed. Her voice carried emotion, wonder, curiosity. When she got to a part about taming a wild fox, she stopped. She pointed to the line, "You become responsible forever for what you have tamed." She looked up. "Is that what you're doing with me?" she asked. Ryan thought for a moment. "No," he said. "You're not a pet. I didn't tame you. I just gave you space to grow." She stared at the book again. "I think I want to grow," she whispered. That night, before bed, she said something that shook him. "When I was in the lab, I wasn't allowed to choose." He nodded. "I know," she said slowly. "I choose to stay. With you." Ryan's throat tightened. He didn't speak. He just nodded. Once. As the stars blinked above them, Narai wasn't a weapon now. She wasn't a test subject. Or a pet. Or an experiment. She was becoming someone, not because someone programmed her to be, but because she chose it, and Ryan. He didn't come to be a hero, but in teaching her how to be a person, he was becoming one. They sent killers to take her back. Message wasn't supposed to reach them, but it did, somewhere in deep space. Inside a cold bunker lined with screens, a masked figure stared at a blinking red light. Project Seraph 6, active. Signal trace, Iron Warden Sector K3. The figure pressed a comlink. Send retrieval unit, full armament, no survivors. Back on the quiet moon, Narai was planting flowers in old metal cups. She didn't know what they were called, just that they were soft and bright, like hope in a bottle. Ryan watched her from the ramp, smiling. It almost felt like peace. Then the alarm screamed. "Warning, incoming vessel. No ID. High-speed approach." Narai stood frozen, hands covered in dirt. The color drained from her face. "They found me." Ryan was already running. He grabbed his blaster, activated defense shields, and yelled into the comms AI. "Launch emergency liftoff sequence." The ship began to rumble, rising above the ground, just as a sleek black vessel broke the sky. It looked like a dagger with wings fast, silent, deadly. Ryan's stomach dropped. He'd seen ships like that before. Assassin class, no one sends those. Unless they expect resistance. The Iron Warden took off, dodging the first missile. The explosion turned the grassy field into fire. Ryan pulled Narai into the cockpit. "Buckle in. We're not going to outgun them. We're going to outthink them." She looked at the enemy ship on the screen. "Those colors?" she said. Voice shaking. "That's the lab." Ryan nodded. "They don't want you rescued. They want you erased." The enemy ship hailed them. A woman's voice came through cold and calm. "Return the asset. You are harboring stolen property." Ryan turned. On the mic, "She's not property. She is Prototype 6. You have 10 seconds to comply." Narai's fingers curled around the armrest. That voice. She was the head scientist. Ryan didn't flinch. "Let them come. I'm not giving you up." The enemy ship opened fire. The Iron Warden shook under the blast. Shields flickered. Sparks flew across the control panels. Ryan growled. "Hold together, girl. Just one more jump." But the AI cut in. Hyperdrive damaged. Escape impossible. He cursed under his breath. Then Narai stood up. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I remember something," she said. "A command buried in my code. They called it the Guardian's Will. Narai know? It's not activation. It's defense." She closed her eyes. The glowing blue lines under her skin lit up soft, not violent this time. Calm, controlled. Her voice echoed. Not loud, but full of power. "Engage. Override protocol. Shield pulse alpha." The ship shook. A blue wave burst out from the Iron Warden, hitting the assassin ship like a hammer. The enemy vessels spun off course. Ryan stared. "You had a shield system inside you?" She blinked. "I didn't know until I remembered. I was trained to hide it till I had someone to protect." Ryan's chest tightened. But the fight wasn't over. The enemy ship recovered. It launched drones small, sharp, fast. They tore through the clouds and latched onto the Iron Warden. Ryan yelled. "We're being boarded." Metal claws slammed onto the hull, cutting, burning. One drone got through, slithered in through the vent. It transformed into a humanoid unit with blades for arms. It charged at Narai. She froze. Ryan fired. Hitting its chest, but it didn't fall. Then something inside Narai snapped. Not her fear. Her limit. She moved faster than Ryan could track. One step, a jump, a scream. She hit the drone hard fists, glowing, slamming it into the wall. Sparks flew. The machine twitched, then stopped. She stood over it, panting. "I said I didn't want to be a weapon," she whispered. "But I'll fight. For him." They made it to orbit. The enemy ship, now damaged, pulled away, sending one last message. "This isn't over. Prototype 6. You'll come back. Or we'll take you apart, piece by piece." Ryan shut off the comms and looked at her knee. Rai was shaking, not from fear, but from rage. "I won't go back," she said. "I'd rather burn in space." He stepped forward and pulled her into a hug. "You won't have to." Later, in silence, she walked to the mirror again. Her skin still glowed faintly. "I hate that I still have their tools inside me," she whispered. "But they don't control it anymore," Ryan said. "You do?" She looked at him. For the first time, she said softly, "I wasn't fighting to escape. I was fighting to protect something." Ryan smiled. "Not something," he said. "Someone." She touched her chest over the glowing core that used to feel like a prison now. It felt like a heart. "She chose to stay with me." The stars looked different now. Maybe it was the way the fire in the sky had faded. Maybe it was the silence after the fight. Or maybe it was because for the first time in her life, Narai was free. She sat on the observation deck, legs folded under her, wearing Ryan's oversized jacket like it belonged to her. Ryan stood beside her, watching the soft hum of nebula clouds swirl beyond the ship. He hadn't spoken in a while. Neither had she. But the quiet felt right, peaceful, earned. Then Narai broke the silence. "What happens now?" Ryan leaned against the wall. "Now, I fix the engine, clean the blast scars. Replace the port wing, maybe. Find a planet that doesn't want to kill us." She smiled faintly. "That's not what I meant." He looked at her. "I mean me," she whispered. "What do I become now?" He took a moment before answering. "You become whatever you want." She nodded slowly, thinking, "I used to believe I was only made to serve, that someone had to own me for me to matter. Now I don't know who I am without those chains." Ryan crouched beside her. You're not empty, Narai. You're becoming. Later that day, Ryan set a small box in front of her. What's this? She asked. Open it. She lifted the lid. Inside was a small metal tag. Worn, simple. It had her name scratched into it. By hand, Narai passenger Iron Warden. She stared at it, breath catching. It's not a collar, he said. It's a badge. You're part of this crew now. My crew. She blinked hard. But I can't fix ships. I'm not strong like you, or smart like the AI. He grinned. That's not why I want you here. She tilted her head. You remind me why I fight, he said. Why I still believe there's good in the galaxy. That matters more than tech or tools. She looked down at the tag again, then slipped the chain over her neck. I'll wear it, she whispered. But not because you gave it to me. Because I choose to. That night, Naraya walked to the ship's control room. She sat in the co-pilot's seat without asking. Ryan glanced over. Tired of hiding in the shadows? She nodded. I want to learn how to fly. T raised an eyebrow. That's not something you can pick up overnight. I don't mind starting at 0, she said. I've done it before. He handed her the controls. All right, co-pilot, let's take her slow. Hours passed. They drifted through calm space. No alarms, no hunters. Just stars and music from an old Earth playlist. Narai looked at the stars like they were letters in a story. She was finally learning to read. She turned to Ryan. You could drop me off on a planet. Let me start over. Could, he said. But you haven't? No, he said. Because I was waiting for you to say the words. She took a deep breath. I want to stay. Ryan's eyes met hers. I want to stay with you, she added. Not because I owe you, not because I need protection, but because, when I'm here, I feel like I'm finally real. He smiled, warm, soft, and quiet. Then we'll write your story together, he said. The AI interrupted softly. Captain? New coordinates available. Open stars ahead. No threat signals detected. Ryan looked at Narai. Where to? She looked out the window and whispered, anywhere. As the ship sailed into the dark blue of space, Ryan leaned back. He remembered the auction, the chains, the silence. Take me home. And now, days, battles, and memories later, here she was, flying beside him. Not a weapon, not a project, not a prisoner. Just a girl with a name and a future. And she had chosen him.